welcome to our final exam review. It says final exam, but this is just the review. So I can guarantee you, if you've ever looked at any of these reviews or documents I have sent in the past, you can tell that it's really a parallel test. It matches in level of difficulty. Really, the only thing that changes is the numbers and the letters and some minor things like that. But what you're asked to do is exactly the same. So it says multiply and simplify. Um, Notice that these things are the same. And so this goes back to the product rule, where if you have x squared times, say, x to the 10th, if the bases are the same, you add these exponents. And so 2 plus 10 is x to the 12th. So here we have 5r squared times 5r to the 6th. So we would then have 5r to the 8th. It says type exponential notation. So I do not believe 5 to the 8th power is 390,625. So I feel like we are not going to be asked to do this. It's wanting it in exponential notation. All right, number 2. Subtract, so that means all of this is going to change to a plus. The 9 goes negative, the 5 goes positive, the 3 goes positive, and then we just add our like terms. So I have 8 to the third minus, but that changes to a plus 5, so 8 and 5 make 13. A to the third, and then I have plus 3a squared because I have no other a squares. I have a positive a here, but nothing else, so plus a, and then that 9 changes to a negative, so a negative 5 and a negative 9 make negative 14. Kind of ran out of space on that one. All right. This is FOIL, but we have a binomial times a trinomial, so we need to make sure we distribute there. 5x to the third minus 30x squared plus 20x. And then I need to multiply through by that negative 3. So I'm going to write it right underneath. Watch how everything lines up. So minus 3x squared plus 18x. And then a negative 12. So when you add your columns straight down, you have 5x to the third minus 33x squared plus 38x minus 12. If you're asked to square a binomial, you've done your fair share of squaring, factoring, things like that by now. You want to make sure you write it out, otherwise you miss that, many students miss that middle term. So then it's 16x squared minus 20xy minus 20xy plus 25y squared. And we can gather those like terms for the middle. And we're done. Factor by grouping. You know it's grouping when it has 4 terms. So we're going to GCF the first 2 terms, GCF the second 2 terms. So in the first 2, I can take out an x squared. I'm left with x plus 9. Between 9x and 81, I can take a 9 out. I'm left with x plus 9. 100% of the time, these two should match. So if they don't match, chances are you've done something wrong. And so then we have x squared plus 9, which is not factorable. It would be if it was a negative. And then x plus 9. We need 2 numbers that add up to negative 4 and multiply to a positive 3. So the only thing that multiplies to 3 is 3 and 1. So if they're both negative, that will add to a minus 4 and multiply to a positive 3. Here, that one's a little trickier. Are there going to be any common factors? Well, 14 only has 2 and 7, and 7 doesn't go into 50, so it really doesn't. So you're going to be able to watch me once again. The one I saw that was on the test when I chose it was not this complicated. It's slip and slide. So multiply the front coefficient to the back. And 14 times 50 is 700. So I need two things that multiply to 700 that add up to 179. I might have to pause our video. So it is going to be 70 times 10, 2 times 350, 5 times, doing this all over the place, 5 times 700 divided by 5 is 140. All right, I'm going to pause this and get back to you. Okay, class, this is the first time this has happened, but I don't immediately see two numbers that add up to 179. I feel like I am just missing something. So for the moment, I'm going to say it is prime, but if I find out differently, or if somebody sees it, I'm just not seeing it. So hopefully this will come up again, and we will look at another one of those slip and slides. All right, next one. Take out that GCF. And so then we have the difference of two perfect squares. Easy peasy. And this one, now we're looking at solve. Please notice how it changed from factor to solve. So 5c squared minus 16c, jump that over the equal, minus 16 equals 0. So we're going to slip and slide again. Hopefully I can redeem myself here. 5 times 16 is minus 80. So we need two numbers that multiply to a negative 80 and add up to a minus 16. Let's try negative 20 and positive 4. If I multiplied by the 5 in step 1 to come up with the 80, I need to divide by the 5 here so that I kind of undo my little cheat. So that's going to give me 20 over 5 is 4. And then 4/5 cannot be reduced, so I slide that 5 in right there. 5c plus 4. Each factor, if you set it equal to 0, you're going to get c equals 4, and then c equals minus 4/5. The domain is the x's, so it looks like, gosh, these are really hard for me to read with my, even with my glasses on. 1, 2, 3, 4, and it's a closed circle. So it goes from negative 4 to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's the domain. The range, we're going to go small to big, so from below to up, so negative 1. All the way up to the top here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, and now that I see the answers, we want it as the domain is, determine the domain of F. Select the correct choice below. Fill in the answer box to complete your choice. So the domain is x such that x compound inequality. So negative 4x 5. So that is how I would write that. I wrote it in interval notation. Seems like MyMathLab is always switching it up here. Inequality or compound inequality. So -1 to 5 goes here. And so that is how I would write it and where I would write it. These need little lines right there, and we're good. All right. Graph, we need to put this in y equals mx plus b. So I'm gonna, what am I gonna do? Well, I already have 2y by itself, so I can kind of just divide everybody by 2 right here. So y equals, I want to make sure I write the slope and the x term first, so I'm going to choose that piece first. So minus 5 halves x, and then 4 over 2 is just plus 2. So that's what I'm going to graph. I'm going to come over here, I'm going to go up 2, and then I'm going to go down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and write 2. And then I'm going to draw the best line I can. You can do that a couple of times if you'd like, but something like that will work. 12. Solve. You can do the square root method, or you can factor it, kind of your choice. Let me get into the pencil mode here. So you can jump that 25 to the other side and say, okay, 16x squared equals 25. Divide by 16, divide by 16. So x squared is equal to 25 over 16. And then if you square root both sides, you get plus or minus 5/4. Number 13. Oh, and we must be in this chapter because 13 is also going to be that square root method. So we're ready right here in step 1 to take the square root of both sides. So we have x minus 7 equals plus or minus 7. So add 7 to both sides. There's a lot of 7s here. 7 plus or minus 7. Then I would split it. So my two answers would be 0 and 14. And I'm going to erase this so I have room to do this quadratic formula one. All right, so you can always go back in the video if you need to see that again. So, will it factor? 5 and 1, but it can't make -5 and then a positive 6. So here we go, negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4 times a times c all over 2a. I do have students that prefer quadratic formula to factoring. Quadratic formula works for all quadratics. So 36 plus a -4 and a -5 make positive 20 over 2. So -6 plus or minus the square root of 56 over 2. So now we're going to come over here and break down that 56. We have a pair of 2's. We're only going to have one pair of 2's. So simplify that radical. One guy kind of cancels. So -6 plus or minus 2 radical 14 over 2. I can factor out a GCF of 2 out of that numerator. So when I pull that 2 out, I get -3 plus or minus, the 2 comes out. So only the radical 14 is left over 2. And then that cancels with that. So this is the final answer right there. All right. Next page. Graph the following function using the vertex and axis of symmetry. So let's think about what we know. We know that because that's negative, please anticipate that you know it's going to go down. We know my vertex is going to be at 5, 0. So down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then I'd maybe check x equals 1 or even x equals 2. And let's try to get a y value. If x is 1 minus, oh, it's 16. Oh, it goes, okay. So if x is 1, y is equal to negative 16. If x is 2, y is equal to, should be even bigger. So 2 minus 5 squared is 3, 9, negative 9. Why is this not going the direction I want it to? Oh, never mind. All right, so we're going to back this up, and there's no way. I went down, and I should have gone to the left or to the right. Well, you can see how I make a mistake, my whole process here. Let's go over this again. This is down. This is going to be the opposite, so we're going to go right 5. And we're going to go up and down none. So here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then when x equals 1, we said y was equal to minus 16. Now it makes a little bit more sense. When x equals 2, y equals negative 9. So if you think about how your axis of symmetry, let's see if I can get something really thin here going in the right spot. I might miss it. Close enough. Okay, if my axis of symmetry is right there, and I have, when x is 1, y is negative 16, this is 1, 2, 3, 4 spaces away from that red line. So 1, 2, 3, 4 spaces away, there's going to be a point there. If x is 2, it's going to be there. This is 3 points away because I'm not exactly lined up there. 1, 2, 3. And so your ability to make this, and me on my little slate here, I'm not so hot, which you probably saw before. So that is not a great representation, but I could do better if we were in person. So it should be a little smoother, a little more like that kind of thing. All right, sorry for the error. Is that the last one on that page? Ooh. Let's go back and double check. Without graphing, find the vertex, axis of symmetry, max or min. All right, so this is the opposite. So the vertex is going to be 4, positive 4, comma 8 is your vertex. Your axis of symmetry is that vertical line right through the 4, so x equals 4. It is going to go up. So if your parabola opens up, because that's a positive 5, then it's going to have a minimum value. And so there is a minimum value of 4, because it's going to be that point right there. No, sorry. There is a minimum value. Let me draw it for you so I can explain. It's going to be right here. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So my guess is on my math lab, the minimum value refers to the y. So if it just wants 1 point, it is going to be, there's a minimum value of 8 because that's at the bottom there. So that is what I'm guessing. The axis of symmetry equals x equals 4. And then the vertex is at 4, 8. All right. Solve and check. I would multiply through by 4. So 4 times 15 is 60. That's going to cancel that out. So 60 plus 5r equals negative 60. We need to get the r by itself, so let's take this 60 to the other side. So 5r equals negative 120. Divide by 5, divide by 5, and r equals negative 24. Solve and check. We need to make sure we distribute before we add our like terms, so it looks like it's not like from the earliest chapters to the latest chapters. It's not in order of level of difficulty. So don't get frustrated if you hit a problem that you don't really know how to do, because here this one is from earlier on in our semester. So 25x equals 100, and so x is 4. Is it a solution? I would just plug in the x and y and see if it's true. So 4 is y, and then 4 times 3, take away 6. 4 times 3 is 12. 12 minus 6 is 6. Is 6 equal to 4? No. So if it's not equal, it's not a solution. 20 says find the intercepts for the x-intercept y equals 0. For the y-intercept x equals 0. In every class, I've always kind of just made these little columns. And so if I plug in y equals 0, I get 2x minus 5 times 0 equals 20. So that just goes away, so you can tell x is 10 and y would be 0. So the x-intercept is 10, 0. And then if I plug in 0 for the x value, so if I replace that, I get 2 times 0 minus 5y equals 20. So if I divide by negative 5, y is minus 4. So the x was 0. See, when I write it down up there, if I get confused, I've got that as a reference. So 0, negative 4. 21. Fill in the missing unit for the rate. If Denny's ticket cost $300 for a 150-mile flight, his average rate was, well, we want to have the bigger number on top, or we get a fraction. So it looks like it's $2 per mile. $2, because this is money, and on the bottom we're measuring miles. So it's $2 per mile. So $2 per mile. $22. Solve it graphically. Well, this one is gonna, I don't know how accurate I'll be. I'll try my best. Jump that x to the other side. And then here, I would probably jump that x to the other side. And we're going to get y equals, we're going to get negative y equals minus x plus 7. And then I got to switch everybody. So then that positive 7 is going to change to a negative 7. So I'm going to go up 9, down one, right one, down one, right one. That negative slope means down one, right one. And so I am going to connect the dots here. And then here, if I start down 7, and then I go up one, right one, up one, right one. Oops, I switched too soon. Up one, right one, up one, right one, up one, right one. It looks, oh, I'm gonna really have to be accurate here. Diagonal, 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 diagonal. And then here, I got off my diagonal at some point. There we go. So it looks to me like they cross at 8, 1. So 8, 1 would be the solution. #23, solve with substitution. So I would plug this in for y right here. So 6x plus 3 minus 5x equals 6. So now you see we're down to one variable. 6x minus 5x is 1x plus 3 equals 6. Take that 3 to the other side. And we're good. This next one says solve using any appropriate method. Elimination is always my favorite. Let's do a little rewrite here. The top one is fine because it goes x, y, and 308. The bottom one, I would switch this so that everything lines up. Now, I'm going to eliminate x because it really doesn't matter which one I do. So I'm going to multiply through by -8 there so that these end up being opposites. So a little redundant here, having to write this over again. And then distributing that -8 to everybody. -8x minus 64y equals -8 times 70 is minus 560. Add my columns. -63y equals 560 minus 308 is 252. And it's also a negative. And then divide by 63. Whew, I'm really glad that turned out well. Otherwise, I would have second-guessed myself here today. We have negative equals negative, so my answer is a +4. Oftentimes, students get super confused as to what to do at this last little step. I'm going to pick this one because there's no coefficient in front of that y, and I'm going to plug in a 4. So I'm going to have 8x plus the y becomes 4 equals 308. Bring that 4 over. So 8x equals 304. Divide by 8, divide by 8. 304 divided by 8 is 38. So the solution is 38, 4. Kind of big numbers there. All right, 25. One evening, 1,500 concert tickets were sold. One of the few word problems that are on the final. So we have a total number of stuff. Please recall we have a stuff, and then we have a money, typically. So we have pavilion seats and lawn seats. We could call this P and L, or I might just say that's X and that's Y. And so I have 1,500 seats. Pavilion seats cost 20. Lawn seats cost 10. Oh, I can't wait for concerts to come back. Total receipts were 19,000. Let's take everybody here and multiply it through by maybe -10 because that's kind of easier. And we'll eliminate the y. We'll have a positive 10 and a negative 10. So minus 10x minus 10y equals minus 15,000. And then this just gets rewritten. And so 10x, my y's drop out. This turns into 4,000. So when I divide by 10, that's going to give me 400 pavilion. And if it has to add up to 1,500, 1,500 were sold. If 400 were pavilion, then the lawn seats must be 1,100 by subtraction. All right. I'm guessing we're on our last couple pages. So this takes us way back. I wanted to make sure that we had some easier stuff from the beginning, so I added this actually after the fact, and then the test wouldn't reorder for me. So we're just going to substitute in and figure that out. So we subtract and simplify the numerator first, the numerator first. 90 over 9 is just 10. Adding fractions is always a skill you need, regardless of what math level you're in. It never goes away. 21 is 3 times 7, and 6 is 2 times 3. So my common denominator needs to be 42. So in order to go from 21 to 42, you need to multiply both the numerator and the denominator by 2. So 2 times 2 is 4. To go from 6 to 42, we need to multiply by 7. So I need to multiply the top by 7 so as to not change that value. So 4 plus 77 is 81 over 42. Then we need to make sure that we can't reduce it. So as I am circling it, I recognize immediately that a 3 will go into both. 3 goes into 81 27 times, and 3 goes into 42 14 times, and now there are no common factors. When we graph here, we want to solve it for y, so we want to jump that 3x to the other side. So it's going to become a positive 3x plus 12. We're going to divide. So y is less than or equal to 3/4 x plus 3. So up 3. And then we can go up 3, right 4. Or we can go down 3, left 4. Or we can do both. Because that is a line right there, it's solid. So it's going to be solid. And where are the numbers less? Where is the y getting smaller? Y gets smaller as we are underneath. So we're going to shade down below. 29 goes back to chapter 4, and again, just practicing those exponent rules. So divide the numbers, subtract the exponents. So 4 goes into 8 2 times. 9 subtract 2 is a to the 7th. B to the 1st and b to the 5th subtract b to the 4th. On 30, we have an exponent raised to an exponent, so that is the product rule. For instance, if you have x squared raised to the 3rd power, you multiply them. So 2 times 3 is a to the 6th. 1 times 3 is b to the third, and then the other parenthesis can just kind of break out. And then we have a to the 14th, 6 and 8 make 14th, and b, 3 and 4 make 7. (31). The domain is the x's, the range is the y, and it is a function only. Oops, I almost said the wrong word there. Huh? X's don't repeat. So as I look at my coordinates, I see all different x's, -5, -7, 8, and 4. So I want to order those from small to big: -7, -5, 4, and 8. And my range is -1, 1, 2, and 4. And yes. It is a function because the x's don't repeat. 32. A truck company charges $40 for a one-day truck rental and 75 cents per mile. So this is that variable cost. So it depends on how many miles. But this is a one-time cost. So we add it into the back. And it says determine the number of miles driven if the cost is 85. So X stands for the number of miles. So take the 40 to the other side. 0.75x equals 45, and divide it. 45 divided by 0.75 is 60. So the number of miles driven is 60. Last one, we're just going to plug in 3 for x, and it looks like then we're going to subtract it. So we're going to substitute 3 in for our x here with g of x. So 3 squared minus 8. So this is g of 3. So 3 squared is 9. 9 minus 8 is 1. And then I'm going to find f of 3. So I'm going to look at this and plug in 3 for x. -4 times 3 is -12, plus 15 is going to be 3. And then it says subtract them. So 1 take away 3 is -2. And I think that's it. And here are the answers. So was that one prime? No, why couldn't I find the factors there? All right, so this is going to be, can I work it backwards and find that factor? 4, and that's 4, and that's 225. 25 times 7 is 175, and 4. So 700. Yeah, there it is. I never saw it. Okay, so that was super tricky for me. So sorry. Let me take us back to number 7 real quick. All right, so 4 and 175. I just couldn't see it while the video was working, and I thought to myself at some point, oh, I'll go back and check. So this is C. I take it back. I didn't think I picked a prime one on the test. C plus 4, and then C plus 175. And if you multiply by 14 at the beginning, we've got to divide by 14 here at the end. And so 4 over 14 is 2 over 7. So that 7 slides in front. 7c plus 2. 175 over 14, we can take out a 7, I believe. 175 divided by 7 is 25. So we can take out a 7. So that's going to be 25 and 2. And that 2 is going to slide in front of the c. So 2c plus 25. Wow, it's been a long time since I've been bested by a factoring problem there. So there you have it. It's on video and everything. All right. I hope you found that helpful. I hope that maybe CME Struggle even gives you some hope that we all sometimes can't see those factors. And good luck on the final. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.